Hi, friends. You're listening to the Digital Transformationists podcast, where we get curious together about what technology is teaching us about human ingenuity, resilience, and the mysterious force that magnetizes us towards connection with one another. I'm Katie Thomas, and together with our host, Christian Lane, founding partner of Precipio Consulting, our co-host, G-Love, Grammy-nominated artist, and our incredible guests, we embark on a journey to better understand technology's role in amplifying connection between us all. We'll hear from technologists, practitioners, revolutionaries, innovators, environmentalists, artists, and more, all sharing their experiences with technology and how it shaped their lives in respective industries. In today's episode that's part of our team series, I have the honor of being on the other side of the mic, chatting with Christian and G-Love about how digital transformation has changed the way we communicate and share our stories with the world around us. We talk about how technology enables teams to foster a culture of openness and collaboration, why good processes are key to helping companies deliver value and achieve awesomeness, and the challenges and rewards of building a podcast with a crew and guests scattered all across the planet. Today's episode is brought to you by the migration experts at AppFire, makers of Configuration Manager for Jira and 150 plus other helpful Atlassian apps. AppFire wrote the ultimate guide to Jira migrations, packed with checklists, worksheets, and expert-level guidance to help organizations move from Jira Server to Data Center or Cloud with confidence. Learn more and download your free copy at appfire.com/migration.
Hey, Garrett, good morning. Good to see you.
Good morning, Christian. How are you, my friend?
Man, I can't complain. Life's good.
Good.
Busy, but good.
I see you're not on the road. You're not back country. You're not in the rig. You're home in the office.
I'm in Austin. Yeah, okay. At least for a little stretch. We're gonna do a little bit of travels here pretty soon, but it's good to be home.
Great.
At least for the moment. And you, how's your? I see you got a lot of gigs lined up. You've been playing a lot.
Yeah, we've been doing some more fly dates. So and kind of figuring out after kind of laying off the road for the last kind of year and a half, how much touring we want to do as compared to how much we used to do. So we're kind of lightening the travel a little bit, but it's working out good, and kind of being a little more choosy as far as what gigs we take. And
sure.
But it's definitely been as far as travel, like back in the airports, back kind of doing more regular gigs for the time being. We'll see how long that lasts now, but it does feel great to get back in the swing of things, and yeah, man, it's all good.
That's great. Lots to figure out. We recently did a survey of our customers to ask them, are they going to go back to the office? Is it going to be some kind of hybrid mix? When do they expect to go back?
Right.
And then we also asked them, when they expect to have like vendors or partners, companies like us that help them actually go back. And there's a lot of question marks, a lot of I don't knows. So
sure.
I guess we're all still sorting things out.
Yeah, and just trying to, and probably I know with us, like just trying to figure out, what our team is going to be, because things changed, and people have changed jobs, and a lot of that's across the board. Like I ran into a woman that used to sell merch for us at our Red Rock show. She did merch and tour managing for different bands, and her husband's a drum tech for a lot of different bands. So during COVID, they were both laid off. So she kind of quit the road and got a 9-to-5 working for a ticketing agency. And so just an example of people to kind of switching careers,
Yeah, so there's a lot of that. There's actually, they're calling it the Great Resignation. They're expecting a lot of folks they're expecting a lot of folks to resign and take different work. Yeah. And I think a lot of folks took jobs also that perhaps they aren't all that interested in.
Okay.
But now that
took jobs going forward, or took new jobs that they're not interested in.
So in some cases, yeah, a lot of folks took jobs that they really weren't that interested in. So now they're expecting a resignation, a large resignation, to folks getting back into the jobs that they do want.
Okay.
And just changing careers altogether, because perhaps what they found was that they were having to endure stuff that they weren't comfortable with.
Right.
And a lot of folks don't want to go back to the office, it turns out.
Sure. Well, I hope that that's not the case with our very esteemed special guest today, Katie Thomas.
Exactly. Me too.
Our guest and producer, because we'll be SOL if she leaves.
That's right. We would be. But Katie, for those listening, Katie Thomas, our director of marketing. You've heard her name her voice when she introduces the podcast. Katie, glad to have you on in this different kind of role.
Yes, on the other side of the microphone, the screen, all the things. Hi, Christian. Hi, G. How's it going?
Good. Great to see you.
Yeah, you too. Happy to be here.
Yeah. What I was about to say? What's cooking in Portland, and that was not the.
Yeah.
But
a lot of things.
Sorry to. How you guys doing out there? And Jimmy Jazz, my bass player, lives there as well, as you know, and he was telling me about. He's had a number of days where he had to stay completely in the house. How's that going for you with the smoke?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. It's pretty incredible. It comes in waves. But last weekend we had like an alert where, they're saying like, try to put plastic up on your windows, or if you can be in like a environment where you're, maybe in a like where you have AC going, not the window units.
Sure.
But we're very fortunate that we don't have central air, but we have window units, and we do depend on them. So we just kind of stuck it out and stayed in the bedrooms last weekend. And yeah, it's a very wild feeling when it's so hot outside, which Portland is not used to.
Right.
And then it's smoky. Oh. And I think we're all this year like trying to be in the habit of moving our bodies when we can. And
right.
Those are two pretty serious barriers. So you're like, if I'm going to go outside, I'm doing it with my mask. Like, yeah, it's a trip. And I just hope that the fires are, I hope that everybody who's working so hard on getting them put out are able to be successful. And yeah, kind of a tough topic, honestly. It's a sad topic.
Yeah,
all the fires. Yeah,
it's crazy too, and like much respect and love and gratitude to the forest fire fighters out there, and it's just unbelievable. And I will say I did see something in the news, or we were talking about. I mean, a lot of those guys just are getting paid like $15 an hour to put their life on the line out there. It's just like, wow, how does that make any kind of sense?
Yeah, my God, it really doesn't. It's like for anybody who's in that like those service level jobs where they're protecting the rest of us, protecting the collective. They should be honored the most and prioritized the most. I actually read an article just the other day about a man who he's a winemaker in Willamette Valley, and one day he sort of woke up and said, what am I doing making wine? Like, I need to get out there and fight these fires that are like, getting so close in on the, not only around like where his winery is, but also just like his community.
Yeah.
And so he's put it on pause and he's becoming a firefighter.
Wow.
He's out there fighting fires. So
wow.
I thought that was pretty incredible. Talk about like changing careers, turning on a dime.
So how do we move from here to digital transformation? Well, luckily though, right, you're in a role where you can stay in the AC and get on the computer and get work done, right?
That's right.
Your work's digital, and you're not outside, perhaps in an outdoor kind of a role and inhaling all that smoke. So we're fortunate, in that way. Now, when we started chatting, we were talking about just how there's this obviously been the shift to more digital work and digitizing work and what we're doing. Let's talk about your role, Katie, and how you organize and how you help us move the marketing forward. Because this is our, for those that don't know Precipio Consulting that well, we're helping companies transform how they do business, employing better practices and better technology. And we're seeing more and more of our clients that are perhaps not software dev teams or IT support teams moving into these tools as well. And we've been helping, marketing teams digitize work and really track and manage and facilitate campaigns and things of that nature. But why don't you share with the audience like what we're doing and how you're using these tools and these processes?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, in being in the Atlassian ecosystem for the last 10 years, and I can't believe that's possible, but it is, I now am unable to function without the core, products, right? Which are Jira, Confluence, and of course, Slack. And so we depend heavily on those tools. Jira and Confluence are Atlassian tools. Jira is a ticket management system for folks who don't know. And then Confluence is a wiki or an intranet. So essentially, Jira is used to track progress of tasks all the way through the workflow until delivery. And then Confluence is used to house documentation, to collaborate on decisions, direction, etc. And then Slack is our chat function. And that is truly the chat function. I mean, forget about it. I couldn't live without it. So in our marketing team, we depend heavily on those tools. And what we've done in Jira is to organize all of the great work that we have to achieve on a quarterly and yearly basis. We set things up, I think of them in buckets. So our biggest buckets of work are our initiatives. So everything in marketing is tied back to an initiative. An initiative could be like our website. It could be ads or SEM and SEO, which is our fancy terms in the ads and SEO world. If you're in marketing or in related niche, then you know all about that. But so then underneath those initiatives, those big buckets of work, we have smaller buckets of work, which we call projects. And so those projects always roll up into an initiative. And then underneath all of those projects, we have our tasks and our subtasks. So it's a hierarchy to be able to organize all of these tasks, initiatives. We in Jira depend on what is called a Kanban board. If you just think of columns, you can make as many columns as you want, but to be very simple about it, like an open column, all of the work that's open and yet to be scheduled. You've got an in progress column. You're moving all the work into that in progress column. You've got in review to make sure everything that was done looks right and is in alignment with our goals. You've got done, and you can get very complex about how that looks. So that is how we structure our work. We say these are the initiatives that we're going to be focusing on this quarter, and specifically these are the projects. We have project leads to make sure that work is getting done. And then we have our team who works on all of those different projects, on those tasks and subtasks. And then in Confluence, we organize all of our, really all of the background details. So who are all of our people? What are their roles and responsibilities? What are our goals this quarter? For each of our projects, we have an objective page. So if someone from another team wants to find out what's marketing doing when it comes to ads, they can come to Confluence and they can see, okay, here's our outline of this specific project having to do with ads. That's where they are. So yeah, we depend very heavily on the tools. And I've been in distributed work for, the last 7 years. And so I also just, really, I feel strongly that these tools allow teams to be successful in a distributed environment. And that's been a really fun journey to be a part of now that so many teams are distributed. So that's a little bit about how we use the tools, and then we Slack each other all day long,
So is like the Slack, is that kind of is that strictly business, or is that also kind of just some lighthearted communication as well?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it's both, definitely. It's a community building platform, but it's also a let's be efficient about how we get work done platform. So at Precipio Consulting, the way we have it set up, and I think it's like this at many organizations, is we have some rooms that are a bit more fun oriented, water cooler oriented.
Okay.
So the nature of those rooms is I want to share my new flowers that I'm growing, or my really cool meal that I had last night, or like I'm having a hard time dealing with COVID. Let's be real about it. Like, is anybody else really struggling? So those conversations are had there. But then also we have like a marketing team room where we talk about like, okay, this week, this is what's on our plates. Are we blocked? Does anybody need help? So it's definitely both. I do think it's an interesting it's really interesting to see Slack, how it's been adopted by so many companies. And now, I mean, I would consider it the category king. When you look at like a chat function, folks are starting to almost just say, instead of chat, they're saying Slack.
Oh,
which is like
cool.
the Kleenex tissue thing. It's pretty cool thing to achieve.
Are there any pet peeves that you have about, some people like, doing things on Slack that really bug the shit out of you? Like, for instance, like I'm not using Slack, but like when we have like a group text going with the band and the crew for what's happening, or like an email chain, like a big pet peeve of mine is when people when people like a text message. Because and then it like repeats the text message, because then I get a notification on my phone. I got left out. I don't need to see that you liked it. You know what I mean? Like
completely.
Like that kind of, and then like, or someone just responds to an email chain and just says thanks. Like, yo, don't you know about like not cluttering my inbox? Is there like a thing like that with Slack? Like, don't clutter my Slack, yo.
Yes, definitely 100%. It's like the worst, and you're like, oh my gosh, my eye real estate. Like it's like so much of everything now is like eyes on screen.
Right.
And even with like in marketing, like it's about getting eyes on the thing, like impressions. But it's like, if you think of like social media for a quick second, it's like, just get your eyes on this thing, and then it's like living in your brain, and you'll remember it next time you, I don't know, need to buy a car and you want to buy a Prius. That's always my joke, is once you start noticing, you start thinking about Priuses, you start seeing Priuses everywhere.
Right.
But okay. I digress. But definitely there are things. One thing that I think I like refer to it as like the squirrel. So it's like, squirrel, it's like, hey, I just, help, I'm on fire. And that, if somebody is like, of course it's like, yeah, it should be addressed quickly, and it should be like, okay, let's get you out of that situation. That's no good. But what's troublesome if it's like you can at all, so you can mention all, and that would notify like everyone in the company, or you could at here, which is like everyone in that room. And so then everyone's like, I just think of it as like squirrel, and they're like, what? Is this something I need to look at? And it's like, if you add that time up, it's not only like a pain in the butt where you're like, oh man, that wasn't important. I didn't need to look at that right now. It's also like that time adds up for a company, So my big allergy is like at here, at all, if it's not an at here, at all thing, or a help, I'm on fire, and then you're like, did you try to find any solutions? And if the answer is no, that's also, I don't love that.
Okay.
So those are my pet
Here's
peeves.
the
Definitely
checklist.
have them.
Did you go through the Katie Thomas checklist first before asking for help?
Oh my God, hardcore, right? Hardcore. I know. And I'm like such a big advocate too for like saying when you need help, like myself included. I think it's a hard thing for humans to learn. It is super important, but I also we have a lean marketing team, we have a lean organization, and so being solution minded is very important.
Copy that.
Copy.
Solution minded. That's the name of your and Christian's new. It's the name of your and Christian's new band. Solution minded.
Solution minded. Solution minded. Oh man. I was weirdly thinking of this as like, speaking of like titles and things, I don't know, I have that type of brain that I'm always like, that could be a book title, or that could be an album title or a song title. And this morning I was thinking fresh tracks. I'm a skier, so fresh tracks in the snow is like such a visceral, like, oh yeah, fresh tracks. Yeah. But then I was like, also fresh tracks, music, music.
Ooh, it's the double entendre.
Yes. But then I was like, oh, there's other types of tracks that could be negative, maybe. So anyway.
Actually, I think it's a great name for a band that plays a lot of ski resorts.
Yes. There you go.
I mean, that kind of is perfect for like, yeah.
I love it. I feel like the tracks, it should be TRAX, TRAKX. I don't know.
My father's funny. He's always trying to like come up with band names or like song titles songs ideas for me, but he has one like that he's been trying to push on me for years. Gary, I think you should call your band Street Noise.
Street noise.
And then he's like, another one. He's like, I got a great idea for a song, Bloodlines. Bloodline, go from me to you. No, I'm like, all right, Dad, that's cool. I got this. But anyhow, so how did you first come to work with Precipio?
Oh my gosh, that's a wonderful question. Yeah. I honestly admired Precipio Consulting from a distance for a really, really long time. I started, one of my first roles in my career was on the customer support team at Atlassian a very long time ago. And even at that time, I think back in 2012, I was aware of Precipio Consulting because every time that I would get to see the team at conferences or engage with them over the phone or through email, everybody was so positive and kind and authentic. And I think that just, to me, I just gravitated towards that from the very beginning. So at conferences, I'd be like, oh my gosh, Christian and team, how's it going? It's so awesome to see y'all. And just always such a positive experience. And then, like I said, I started my career with Atlassian, at least in the San Francisco office back in 2012. And then I was over in the Amsterdam office for 4 years. And then I left Atlassian and I started my own consulting company, consulting in the Atlassian space. And then I worked for another partner and then joined Precipio Consulting last summer. So that's sort of the
A year and 16 days ago.
Wow, a year and 16 days. Oh my gosh, talk about a packed year.
Did they poach you?
No, not at all.
No, we have a no poach policy, Jake.
Okay.
Yeah, I had actually
Say it again so all your clients can hear that, guys.
Yeah, no poach policy.
No. I had left the previous company that I was with, and so I was just out there chatting with folks and, sort of trying to figure out what my next move was. And Christian and I reconnected, and yeah, the rest is history. And it was a true gift, honestly, especially in the middle of, what this last year has been, to get to join this team and just the energy, the positivity, and not just on the marketing team, but the rest of the organization. And I wish I could tell, high school, college me that I would be on this podcast, with you, G, too, because I swear in high school and college, I was listening to all your music on the constant. All my friends are like, what? You have G on the podcast? I'm like, yeah. So, pretty cool.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, we've been working all together for how many days has it been, Christian?
Well, I can't.
Do you think of my time as fondly as Katie's?
Well, let's
86
see.
days.
I think you joined. Well, we did that live stream with you. It must have been May of last year.
Yeah, so we're also like a year and 15 days.
That's it. Yeah. Pretty much.
Yeah, it's amazing.
But yeah, that being said, I said, can you just kind of, I know I've probably asked this question a lot over the last year, but what does Precipio do? And of course, all of our guests, I've interviewed a lot of people in the space, but it coming from an outside perspective, not working in your guys' world, except when I'm working with you, I still kind of struggle to kind of understand what everybody's doing.
Yeah.
So you can edit this part out later if it's not important to the listener, but at least for me.
Yeah, no, I'd love to answer that. I like to think of it as at a very high level, we help teams work better together so they can spend more time on what matters.
Okay, so
yeah.
Do companies actively seek you guys out, or I know you're in the marketing department, or are you going to big companies and saying, hey, IBM or whatever, you guys are doing a great job, but we can help you to do better? Or people coming to you saying, we're doing pretty good, but can you help us do better?
Yes, both. Both streams are happening on the constant. We're very lucky to have a lot of repeat business. So the business that we have with our current engagements and clients, we're expanding within those organizations, helping their sister and brother teams, optimize what they're doing, optimize all the tools that they use and consolidating them, looking at their processes and saying, you know what, you could save some time here, you could save some cost here. And then of course on the marketing team, we are seeking out new business. We're also proactively connecting with those existing accounts and reaching out within them to expand, just to make sure that they know about us and that we can, ensure that we are connecting with more folks in the organization, shining a light on like, hey, we see your pain, we see these struggles, and we can help you with them. So both are happening.
So are you able to quantify or do you do this, quantify, if you're working with Atlassian or some other client, are you able to quantify with them, their productivity and cost savings or, profit margins after a year of consulting with them?
Yes. Yeah. There's, I think quantifying things in fact, I was just having a conversation with, one of the folks heading up cloud at Atlassian last evening about this. I think looking at those quantifiable data points. So this is how much time you will save, or this is how much cost you will save, or this is how much you will save using this tool as opposed to this other competitive tool. We do, in our marketing messaging, try to shine a light on those data points to connect with our different audiences. And I think there's going to be more and more of that. Specifically, we were talking about cloud yesterday, Christian, Holly, and I, total cost of ownership, this is kind of very specific, but cloud is the offering that Atlassian is focusing very heavily on, and it's across all markets. Like going software as a service, cloud is the way of the future. And so, looking at how to quantify, well, if you're speaking to a decision maker in an organization, like a CIO, for example, they're going to want to understand the savings, right? Especially if the cost initially is higher than what they already have deployed. So yes, definitely. And I think Christian can speak more to our specific clients and maybe the findings we've seen in terms of value add.
Yeah. So we've been just crazy lucky. As the guy that started the company 15 years later, going back and just reflecting on the kinds of clients we have, I pinch myself. These are industry leaders across any industry you can think of. We've got many Fortune 100 clients. And like Katie said, they keep coming back because we keep delivering. In the case of customers moving where work is being done from their data center and where their physical servers to cloud, that's very much an ROI conversation, but also a conversation about what those team members are freed up to do because they're not babysitting hardware. And they're not making sure that the network is up. They can then focus their investments into bringing value to their customers in the form of better engagement, solutions, and things of that nature. When we help software teams and other teams that are more behind innovation, it's less a conversation about how much money you're saving them and more about how fast are they able to deliver new value, new capabilities to their customers. And it's more of a conversation of being very competitive. We've had customers, Perul was one of our guests once, her company, where they were releasing software twice a year. So imagine you spend so many months creating something and testing it, and then you deploy it and release it into the world. That's a lot of change and a lot of movement to your software that then becomes error prone and also just slow to deliver some new capability and value. They're now releasing daily, if not hourly, right? They get a change in place, it gets automatically tested, and it gets deployed. So their ability to deliver innovation and new capabilities is just lightning fast.
Wow.
And on something like that, that's not an ROI, so much an ROI conversation as it is how are you going to remain competitive? Because it's just faster and faster and faster. What's also cool about the technologies and these frameworks that we work with, so we're a process consulting company, right? And a technology company, but it's the process piece that's like the core of our DNA. And in that, there are these frameworks. We've talked about agile software development and DevOps and idle-based ITSM. All of these process frameworks are trying to move people, teams, companies into a space where they're creating value and they're proactive, as opposed to a space of reaction and just waste. So if in a company, a software team is saying things like scrapped, late, retrofit, that's reactive work that doesn't create value. But if they're saying like we're anticipating and we're inspecting and we're validating, they're saying more proactive language that keeps them in an area where they're actually focused on creating value, right? And what we're doing is helping customers and companies and teams move from that reactive space into that proactive space with these frameworks and these technologies. Because these technologies and frameworks, that's what they do, is they help you get in that proactive space. So that's kind of like the gist of it, right? We're helping companies just kick ass, really.
Maybe that should be the new motto: helping companies kick ass since 1995.
I think if we went back and listened to every podcast, you always come up with like these 2 or 3 gems. I think it's your dad that's inspired you there.
Yeah, I know. We need to pull them out for all of our brainstorming we do around that. It's like we could use that stuff.
That's good.
We can use those great ideas.
Yeah. And like the thing is too, like these are engagements and efforts where these moves taken by these companies are just hardcore strategic to their success. And there's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of different attitudes and personalities and thoughts on what to do, what not to do. So we're helping navigate that, implementing better processes and better tools to help companies, achieve their awesomeness.
So this, take it or leave it, but are you guys the only people in this space, the only company? I mean, do you have some fierce competition in this market? And if so, what are the things that set you guys apart?
I can answer that.
Or you want to?
I'll take a first stab and then hand you the baton. Yes, there are other organizations in this market. And I think, there's at the same time, so it's there is a demand. There are lots of customers and clients out there who need support doing the things that Christian was just mentioning. Precipio Consulting, we have so many differentiators. I'm so proud to be a part of this company. And I have to pause and say, like, from a marketing standpoint, it's all about knowing your audience, speaking to their pain, and then communicating the core message and believing the core message, right? And I think, our tagline is good process, well practiced. And I think that says so much about us. We're really focused on helping clients and customers understand their challenges and meet their challenges with customized solutions. So we're not interested in just coming in and kind of, deploying this is a best practice here and this is a best practice there. We're instead really focused on addressing their customized needs. And I think, the other thing is there's a lot of quantitative aspects too, but back to that authenticity piece, we truly want to help teams optimize and improve, and we want to help customers and organizations holistically with that. I think a huge part of that is listening to their needs. So that's huge. And then, the quantitative pieces, right? There's these performance metrics for companies. You could look at it that way. Something called an NPS score. So we ask our consulting and training clients whether they would recommend us or not. And we score very, very high on that, way ahead of industry standard. And the same thing with with our CSAT, which is a customer satisfaction score. We also are just, way above industry standard there. So, we can get into like the quantitative pieces, but our customers tell us that they're happy. We expand within existing accounts. And yeah, as Christian mentioned, we've been in the business a long time, 15 years plus. And we work with a lot of the folks at the very top of that Fortune list. So 3 out of the Fortune 10, I think, was our last metric that may be updated since. So I could go on and on, but yeah, we truly are. We have our success is our customers' success, and I think that is a huge differentiator for us. We really want to help the customer and client holistically.
Can you just say the three pillars of marketing again?
Yeah.
I want to write them down.
Sure.
That's really good.
Sure. So like defining your target audience.
Uh-huh.
So making sure you're speaking to the right folks.
Uh-huh.
And then the next one is defining and shining a light on their pain.
Uh-huh.
And that kind of on its head, that is letting them know that we can help them with their pain, that we're ready and equipped to do that. And then third, clearly communicating the core message of the company or our value proposition, and really core to everything, believing it in your heart. And that's for me what's such a huge thing with, such a huge aspect of my life at Precipio Consulting is I believe so much in what we're doing and in what we can bring to every team across organizations everywhere, and really help them optimize their work so they can focus on what matters, so they have some time back in their day, so they're not in that reactive place that Christian was mentioning, which is also not great for your health long term. Okay. That's a whole nother side passion I have.
Right. Stressful, yeah.
But yeah, Christian, what are your thoughts on that? I said I'd pass you the baton, and I just went wild.
No, you did great. Maybe just call it yes and is, at the end of the day, we're a people first company and a people business, right? One of our 4 values is maximize mutual benefit, and I think that's we have these 4 values that help us when making big decisions and small decisions. It also ensures that not just me and my decision making capability or authority. That I'm making the right decisions, but that through the company, we're making the right decisions. And that's, again, maximizing mutual benefit is one of those 4 that I think is super important as a people first business. So we make sure that we, train and develop our folks, get them good as best as possible, the kinds of projects that are of interest to them. And at the end of the day, like Katie said, like just, putting our customer success as our own success at the end of the day.
I love it. It's interesting to kind of, like if I look at the pillars of that, and also the maximizing mutual benefit, like as the 4th one, as I put it into my world as like a songwriter or, entertainer, but really like a communicator and a connector, right? Because that's what I'm trying to achieve on stage every night, is not just entertain people, but really connect with them and take them to a place. But I mean, that probably, if I was tuned into those pillars like early on, or could look at them so clearly, I'd probably be a lot more well known now. But like defining, just knowing who I'm singing to, and then what defining their pain or defining their experience, what songs that I'm writing, or what human emotions I'm writing about that people can really, really relate to, and not just thinking about like what I'm feeling, and then really obviously believe, and then having a core message as to what like my branding is as an artist, and really believing it. And the people that I've seen that are able to do that, whether it's like some musicians that I feel like do that really well, are like Snoop Dogg, like in all different spheres, for instance, like Snoop Dogg. If you think about who he is and what he's portrayed, who he is. He's speaking to the audience, whether you like it, what he's saying or not. Like, it's really clear. And then like Slightly Stoopid, they do it really well too. Like, they know their audience is this kind of, all about weed smoking people that like to party and reggae, but also want to have some heavy vibes. And then like Jack Johnson, like super connected with his fan base. And then someone like Jack White too, like since the very beginning,
Right.
like his aesthetic, everything is like so perfectly aesthetically planned. So it is interesting to just really boil down those messages. And
No, I think to that end too, right? It's like when you're your genuine self.
yeah, that's right.
And you're true to self, that comes through, and that may resonate with some, it may not resonate with others, right? But I think as long as you're genuine and authentic about who you are, what you believe, you write the right songs. Like you've inspired so many people, G, including me and Katie and the folks that are producing the podcast. We grew up with you, and you've always had a message of positivity and a message of like hope and will and like drive, hustle. That I think resonates with a ton of people. And I think that's what we try to do. Like, our 4 values are focus on what matters, make it work, maximize mutual benefit, and crush it every damn day.
Okay.
And really, it's just about people at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, I love it. I think too, it's amazing how with music, like my mom's a music teacher. I grew up with music. I'm super passionate about music. I just think it's a language in itself. And I think it's so fascinating how one person will hear a song and be like, oh my gosh, I feel like they're speaking to it. They're talking about a breakup. They're talking about a hard breakup. And then another person listens to it. They're like, no, they're talking about like being reborn, or I don't know. People have different interpretations of
Sure.
the message. And I think that's really beautiful too. Yeah. And I'm fascinated too with how, I know we've talked about it on previous episodes, G, but like your process of like songwriting and like when it hits you, like you sit down with a notebook and like get it out, or is it does it live in your mind for a while? Like, how does that process look? I guess that's something I've just always been curious about.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I try to have it be, authentic and kind of truly coming from a place of inspiration, which doesn't need to be some kind of like super heavy thing. It just could be like, me looking at my baby and singing him like, a little song with his name in it, and just seeing kind of what keeps coming back. And then there's a lot of times like in those lucid moments when you're kind of waking up or going to sleep and your brain's kind of, those are the moments you got to catch, because a lot of times you'll come up with some interesting, because you only need like a phrase, a sticky phrase or a sticky concept or a sticky melody to kind of get going on a song, and then you kind of fill in the blanks kind of. But yeah, that initial thing has to be really great. And I will say that as time goes on, like I try to be really kind of picky and choosy as to which ideas I do pursue. And I don't just pursue anything, because I've got like a lot of records and content out there. So I really try to only put stuff that I feel is going to be worthwhile.
So Garrett, describe your editorial process, I guess, if you will. Like, what would you put a time box on it, or do you say like it's hitting my interest level between a 1 and a 10? It's at a 2, toss it. Like, how do you go through that process to evaluate like what you want to put your energy into?
Yeah, like it's interesting. Like I'm not the kind of writer that like sits down and like writes every day. I don't do that. But I'm constantly compiling the ideas, and then when it comes time to start working on a new body of work, then I'll really like go through those ideas and see which ones have merit and see which ones are worth following. Again, some can be really lighthearted, some can be serious, but the process is that it's got to be like awesome. They got to be great ideas. And then, once you jump into it, I'm of the mindset nowadays that it should be easy, right? If it's not easy, it's going to suck. So that goes with the music, and it goes with the lyrical flow. So once you get that inspiration, whether that comes from a great chord progression or riff that you've got on the guitar or the harmonica, or a melody in your head, or like a freestyle flow. And then you go back and really hone in on it and say, okay, you've got this great bed now, and we're going to really, ice this cake properly and really take off remove any ingredients that don't need to be in there. So over the years, I've gotten a lot more in tune and comfortable with like editing myself, and also taking constructive criticism from my colleagues, whether it's my management or label or other musicians or writers. And that could go on till the very end of the recording process. Can go on the writing process all the way till, when right before that song is going to come out, and people have different ideas. Try this. Okay, I'm always willing to try something new, rewrite a verse, rewrite a chorus, change the arrangement around, because I know I can always go back to how I had it. So why not? Let's try.
Sure. Experiment. Yeah. So this weekend, I had This Ain't Living in my head like all weekend long.
Well, that's just a perfect song.
I don't even know why, G. But I'm curious, like this song strikes me as something that just flowed through.
Yeah.
Was that like one of those where it just kind of just flowed out, or did you work on that one, iterate on it a lot?
Well, that's interesting. That's actually an interesting song to talk about, because This Ain't Living's one of my favorite tunes from it's probably, people say, what's your favorite song to play? I always say This Ain't Living. I love to perform that song.
That's one of my favorites.
I love the message of it. I feel everything about it is inspired, and it's even 25 years later or whatever, it still strikes a chord, and it always seems relevant. It's kind of about the plight of homeless people in the inner cities. And it originated as a different song called Product of the City, which, and then I ended up using my verse from that on the song This Ain't Living. And the music came from, this is interesting, just briefly, like, so De La Soul sampled Steely Dan. I don't have a guitar. Yeah, I do. Let me just show you real quick. So like De La Soul sampled Steely Dan's. Well, my guitar's loud. This is your picture. So they sampled that and made a rap out of it. Well, that was always one of my favorite De La Soul tunes. And so one day when I was just letting my fingers wander on the strings, I came across that. I had just learned these two chords, and I came across that groove, and I said, "Oh, that sounds familiar." Well, then I flipped it. I went, and then I slowed it down, and then so I kind of flipped it. So that's what we call it, maybe appropriation, or a live sample. But I always approached my music like a DJ would produce hip hop. That's how I would always produce or approach my version of hip hop blues. I would learn a riff and then kind of put it into my own song. And that song straight down the line. And again, like the chorus was an appropriation of Marvin Gaye's Inner City Blues, which is one of my favorite tunes. And that's how I kind of got that chant, This Ain't Living. So it's amazing that I never really got sued for any of this stuff, but but then I wonder, Andy Warhol didn't, or Cause didn't either. So, but music is like that to me. It's a lot of appropriation. But that was kind of the musical process. And then when we came to write it, I had worked with a rapping friend, and he, I'll never forget, we were sitting in Harvard Yard in Cambridge, and I said, man, I got this idea, and then he came with his verse, and then we did the back and forth verse, and it was really flowy, and when we recorded it, we let it stay flowy. I think if I recorded that song now, the arrangement would probably be a lot tighter, but I'm glad that it's not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I love that. That's so cool. It's like pulling pieces from different places.
It's kind of like a collage.
Yeah, like a collage. I sometimes will be like humming a tune or singing a song, and Ben's like, my fiance is like, what now? What were those lyrics? I'm like, I don't know. That's what I thought the lyrics were forever. Or I'll like combine the songs, you know, like, oh, he's like, you just combine the two songs. I'm like, yeah, but they go together. And I think it's kind of fun to be like, oh, it's like DJing in your mind, you know, obviously for me, for just fun on the side, like, but I think that's really, really, thanks so much for sharing how that song came to be a little bit about that. And those are such cool examples. Like, oh, I heard that here. I changed it a little bit and I can put it together with this other piece from another song that I love. Like, I love that.
No, you just made me think of something funny because I totally you were saying, like, and I think it's something that with a lot of songs, like, there's a lot of songs that, you know, no one really knows what the hell they're really saying. Like,
yeah, you make stuff up.
And then you're like, you go through your whole life, like really famous songs, like especially the one that always comes to mind, which I finally found out what the real lyric was last year after growing up with on classic rock, is Bruce Springsteen's "Blinded by the Light," where he goes, "We're wrapped up like a douche in the middle of the night." I'm like, what? Well, it's not like a douche. It's wrapped up like a deuce. Talking about cards.
Yeah.
Talking about cards. Like, okay. He's talking about card game wrapped up like a deuce in the middle of the night. But why is that so sticky? Because no one, right? I mean,
yeah, because you're like, what now?
You're going to question the boss.
Did he say that? Did he say that?
Exactly.
What does he mean by that?
I was singing a song yesterday and it was like, I was like, among the stars in the Everglades, and then Ben was like, what? And I was like, what? He's like, I've been the star in many plays or something like that. And I was like, what? And he's like, no, I'm like 30 years I've been singing it.
Oh my God.
I was like, but I like my weird lyrics better.
Wait, what song is that? What song is that? I've been a star.
I've seen better days, and the bottom drops out.
So you said I've been what? I've been a sawing in the Everglades?
I've been among the stars in the Everglades. Okay. Among stars in the Everglades. Awesome. He's like, first of all, that's
people in Florida dig that version of it.
I know, right? I was like, God, I can't explain myself. But and then your brain's like, I'm like, I can't. How am I going to train it back? I don't think I can.
Well, I've one like on that song Cold Beverage, like there's a phrase in it that goes, stick it in the fridge, and someone was saying, why do you say chicken in the fridge, chicken in the fridge, chicken in the fridge?
You're like, what now? I did not say that, but
I swear to God, what's the water, Vita water?
Mm-hmm.
I swear to God that they stole my punchline, because if you look on the back of every Vita water, it says stick it in the fridge.
Oh. You're like, hey, wait a second now.
It's not trademarked. I mean, I don't know. Can Precipio help me with this consulting?
I know that's a whole can of worms. Like, and I can only imagine in the music industry with lyrics and titles and things, but like how much you have to research if you're just starting an organization, for example, like the name. You have to make sure that no one else has the exact same name, and if they do, you have to be prepared to, like, you know, all that stuff.
I had to pay for the rights to my name because there was a couple rappers before me. But yeah, we digress.
Oh my gosh. We digress. Wow. I know. We could talk about all the things forever. I love connecting with y'all and being on this side of the screen, of the microphone.
Well, we could do a little quick speed round.
I'm in for that.
Let's ask Katie some questions on the speed round. You want to start with the first one, Jay?
Sure. California or Oregon?
Oh, I'm in so much trouble. Ooh. Oh. God. California. It's my home.
Boom.
Yeah. Got to.
Well, and then I'm sure the people in Oregon will say, well, why the hell won't you move back?
Exactly. Oh, yeah, 100%. They're like, just leave, please.
Because they don't want, because like, isn't that thing in Seattle and Portland? They're like, no more people from California.
It's Austin, it's Colorado, it's everywhere.
Completely. Yeah, definitely frowned upon.
Don't move where I am.
Exactly. Oh, my gosh.
Here's one for you. Amsterdam in one word.
Me?
Mm-hmm.
Magical.
Ooh.
All right.
Ski or snowboard?
Ski. I got to say ski.
Favorite software?
Oh my God. I gotta say Jira. I just have to.
Jira for the win.
Favorite G-Love song?
Ooh. Baby's got sauce. Baby ain't sweet like mine. And also, I love the Rainbow song you did with Jack Johnson.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm just coming up with some off the top of my dome, Christian. All right.
That's good, man. That's good.
Damn.
So let's see. Kate, I guess you don't have this list in front of you, do you?
No.
Then
Flying blind.
I'll ask Garrett.
Okay.
Musical guilty pleasure.
Damn, I had this one so hard. It's probably Taylor. My secret love affair for Taylor Swift and her amazing songs.
T-Swift.
Yeah, she's
amazing.
So, I definitely have like I definitely tune into like a lot of super pop music, partly because my wife leaves either the Blend or the Pulse up on the radio, like two serious stations that. And then I hear that I'm like, that's actually a pretty good song. It's a fucking great song.
What have you missed most about playing live?
Well, I have been playing. What have I missed most about playing live? Yeah, I guess just people dancing. Yeah, seeing live. Just interacting with the with whoever shows up at the fans that are at the gig. Because I always say to people, I actually says to my lead guitar player yesterday, I was like, hey man, don't look at me when you're playing a solo, like look at the crowd. And he goes, oh, thanks for saying that, because in this other band they're saying I'm looking at the crowd, playing to the crowd too much. The way I look at it is like, look, if I just want to play for myself, I'll just sit here in this room. When I'm playing on stage, this is us giving what we have to offer to the people. So, like,
it's a perfect example of the audience thing from earlier. It's like you're speaking to the audience.
Yeah. So just to get to connect, the connection.
The connection. Yep. Instrument you just can't play.
Any type of wind instrument.
Wind instruments. Cool.
Anything other than a guitar and a harmonica, basically.
And then favorite album this year?
That's an easy one. There's a song that that really struck a chord with me this year, which is Sanctuary by the artist's name is His Golden Messenger. And honestly, I haven't listened to the whole record. I've only heard that track. But man, I never heard that guy. And oh man, that song just really gets me. Sanctuary.
Cool. I'm going to check it out. Good. His Golden Messenger. Cool. Those are the questions for Jay.
Christian. Lake or ocean for surfing?
Oh man, this is a hard one. We've been living, our neighborhood's on Lake Austin, and I love lake and freshwater. But right now, my passion is I've got to become a good surfer. So I'm trying to get down to the ocean as much as I can. So I'm gonna say ocean.
So you go to Galveston to surf down on the Texas coast? Because there's waves down there.
No, yeah, there's waves. My buddy actually just went to Port Aransas this weekend and said there was something to work with. But you got to just time it right. And it's just a matter, you got to just pay attention and be willing just to make the quick
Or you could do the guys ride behind the oil tankers on the wake.
Yeah, exactly.
I've always wanted to do that.
I'd rather spend weeks or months at a time in Costa Rica, though. That's what I'm going for.
All right, Tex-Mex burritos or Torreon gorditas?
Torreon gorditas.
What's Torreon?
So Torreon is a city in kind of north central Mexico.
Okay.
We spend our summers in the neighboring city, Gómez Palacio, as kids.
All right, favorite instrument, and it doesn't have to be musical.
No, it's a good point. I was going to make an analogy to the tools that we work with being our instruments, but I'm going to say surfboard for now.
Okay, Land Cruiser or Land Rover?
Land Cruiser. Yeah, I've got my build coming in November.
What do you think about the new Ford Bronco?
I think it's neat. A lot of technology in it.
Pretty cool looking rig.
Yeah, it looks pretty awesome.
And lastly, can you help me to find a tricked out Sprinter van?
A tricked out Sprinter van.
You got a guy who's building your rig out?
Yeah, so Let's talk about that
offline
when you have some time. Yeah. No, I'm happy to spend hours with you talking about that.
Those look so fun, by the way. Those look just amazing. When we were in New Zealand, folks rent all the vans, and they're like, some are tricked out, some are just basic. But I just love that whole concept of just getting in and going, and then getting to see all sorts of things, especially in North America. There's so much to see. It's such a giant area. So just get in and roll on, I guess.
Yep, for sure.
We've outgrown our Suburban.
Cool.
So yeah, we gotta get a new toy.
Oh my gosh, yes. Yeah. 3
kids,
kiddos now. So, amazing.
So you looking to outfit it with like the whole camping like house setup, or you just want like seats and plenty of room in the back?
Yeah, both.
Okay.
Some way to transport the children, some gear, and ourselves safely to the gig. So yeah,
Okay.
We'll talk about it. But this has been great, Katie. Thanks so much for joining us twice today. You set it all up and hit the home run.
Aw, thank you.
Yeah,
It's an honor. It's an honor to get to work with y'all and get to learn from y'all, hear all your stories on all our episodes. So I hope I get to crash the party again in the future. Otherwise, I'll be on the other side of things.
Okay.
Be in the background. Thanks, y'all.
Katie. Thanks, Jay. Good to see you.
Thanks, Christian. Thanks, guys.
Awesome to see you.
Ciao.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Digital Transformationists podcast, brought to you by Precipio Consulting. Precipio Consulting provides flexible, scalable, expert-level IT and business solutions to enhance productivity and decrease cost. Check out our other episodes, access show notes and links, and listen to some great bonus content on our website at precipio.com. Like what you heard? Subscribe, rate, and leave us a review wherever you listen to podcasts. And tell a friend. We love making new friends. I'm executive producer Katie Thomas. Victor Vargas is our lead engineer. Alejandro Caballero is our editor. Stephanie Harrison is our writer. If you want to find out more about how we can help your organization with digital transformation, or if you just want to find out more about digital transformation, send us an email at contact@precipio.com. Thanks for tuning in.